Computer, excellent. Okay, hopefully no more interruptions. Okay, all right. So last time the key emphasis was on the value of a human being and how that gets distorted when we grow up in the presence of a narcissist. So if somebody has not watched that video, it will be very useful to watch it because it's got some basic principles that I'm going to always refer back to or build up upon. So let me know if you don't have it, I can send it to you. Okay, let's take a look at what are the properties of a narcissist versus a person who has been abused. It's very important to see the difference between the two and how they relate to each other. It's like literally North Pole and South Pole attracting each other of a magnet. So for a narcissist, the focus is always on the self. All they care about is their own self. They don't give a damn about anybody else. And the abused is completely opposite to that. They're always focused on the other people and very little on their own self, if at all. For a narcissist, the self-value is overestimated. They think too much about themselves. They're not as good as they think they are. And abused, as we can see, is the opposite. The abused will always underestimate their own self. And this was the emphasis of my talk last time, is that the self-value is a very important aspect of our being. If our self-worth and self-value is low, we have a hard time attracting the right things in our life. We constantly feel that we are not deserving. Why? Because we feel our self-worth is low. So I give a few simple methods of changing that. So listen to it again if you need to. But the basic idea is that it is an illusion that your self-worth is low, self-value is low. Then of the property of blame. The narcissist is always blaming somebody else. It's not specific to the abused. That's their nature. They just do not want to see anything wrong with themselves. Whereas the abused is always taking it upon themselves that, okay, the problem must be mine. Because they were programmed that way, whatever the cause may be. But that's how the abused feels, that it's my problem. I must be doing something wrong. I'm not enough. I'm not valuable. I'm not good enough. In terms of self-perception, narcissist all the time feels they're right. They cannot do anything wrong, period. And abused, on the other hand, everything is wrong with them. There must be something not right with me, something not enough about me. There's always something lacking in them. Service. Narcissist always wants to be serviced. They want to be the king or the queen of the world, and they want people to come and serve them. They don't give a damn about anybody else. And the abused, on the other hand, people like you and me, who are into more healing kind of a environment, healing fields, we are always looking after other people and very little about our own self. From a character standpoint, and I'm talking character not from a moral standpoint, like from a good or bad perspective, character from a basic human property of, I hate to use the word goodness, but still I'm using the word goodness, basic human property of respect and goodness for yourself and for other people. So from a character standpoint, the narcissist is really a criminal. There's no other word for it. They're a mental psychopath and a criminal. That's their basic character. They don't care about whether you get hurt or not, right? So their basic decency is missing in them. On the other hand, of course, the abused is on the other extreme. They're completely saintly. They will martyr themselves, but not harm anybody else. So having a perspective of how we are attracting each other energetically. Energetically, these two opposites are attracting because they both need to balance. Narcissist needs to shift towards the mindset and the properties of the abused, and the abused needs to shift a little bit on the narcissist side. And I'm not speaking in a bad sense, it's just that self-care, having enough value for ourselves, understanding that we are not wrong all the time, understanding that we need to serve ourselves. These are the properties that we do need to incorporate to move forward in life. Now, slightly separate topic but related is that our life is literally created from our mindset, our mind. Mind is creating everything in life. Our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, they are creating a reality that we see outside. Okay, so if we are to change our own life, it is extremely crucial that we change our thinking. And so shifting from the untruth that we saw for the abuse, for example, I don't have enough value, is an untruth. It's a mindset. It's a way of thinking that does need to be changed as we go along. And that's how we improve our life, is by changing our thinking. Like Buddha says, mind is the creator of everything, which means everything can be changed. Right? And that is the truth that throughout ages, every single saint or a messiah or teacher or guru has talked about changing your thinking, changing the way you feel, changing the way you believe is what brings to you the reality that you see outside. Now, what are the key beliefs, key mindsets, key thought patterns that get set up in the mind of an abused? The first one is, I don't matter. Right? So if you're constantly in the presence of a narcissistic parent or somebody else who's constantly showing you how great they are all the time, how wonderful, how great, how extraordinary they are, and how low you are in front of them, eventually over a period of time brainwashing you, you will start to really believe, I don't matter. I'm not enough. I don't matter. There's nothing good about me. And that's understandable. But we still need to find ways of changing that. If we are to change our external world, we do need to change that. The next one is, I am low value. Again, on the same principles, that the narcissist is overestimating their value. They are nowhere even close to as good as they think they are. My mother thinks she's been the best mother in the whole world. She's the kindest, most loving, the most caring, the most awesome person on the planet. And I believe, I'm pretty positive most of the narcissists believe that to be true. And that's why they don't even want to acknowledge that there could be something wrong with them. It just doesn't pass a litmus test of common sense that nobody is perfect. Nobody has got all the good values, right? But they don't want to acknowledge that. They don't want to even see one aspect incorrect in them. And they're projecting all their issues on somebody else. That it cannot be me, it must be somebody else's problem. You are not enough. You don't matter. I'm perfect. Right? So that's their mindset. And unfortunately, growing up in that kind of a mindset, of course the child will pick up that. So there's nothing right about me. Then the third key belief is, I have no control over my life. The narcissist has completely hijacked the life. They maintain complete control. It's either their way or the highway. So if you say a no, that is a deadly sentence for the narcissist. You have to say a yes or you're going to get killed. That's their belief pattern. That's their mind pattern. then I don't have choices, is the other belief, which is derivative of all of these. I don't have choice. How many times feel in your life that you say, I don't have a choice, I have to do this. I have to go through this pain, I've got to go through this suffering, I've got to go through this life the way it is coming to me. I don't have a choice. Feel it in your mind, feel it in your heart. How many times do we keep saying that? And the last but not the least is, I am not free. That because I have no choices, I have no control over my life, I don't have value, I don't matter, I'm not free. I'm not free to do what I want to do or what I want to be. I want to be so many different things, but I'm not free to be those. And that gets deeply embedded in the mind. Imagine living in the presence of a narcissist who's always saying a no to your wishes and desires. What would you feel? What would you start believing? The obvious belief is, I'm not free to do what I want to do or what I want to be. There's no rational given. No, you cannot do this. If you do this, there are severe consequences to it. So better suck up and just do what you're told to do. So these are the key beliefs, and just take a look at it. You will see obvious fallacies in it, right? Can you mute yourself, whoever that is? Thank you.
Come here.
Okay, sorry. Wait a second. Pause this thing. Can you please mute? There's somebody who's unmuted. And for some odd reason, this is not showing me how to control that. God. Okay. All right, there you go. So let me see who's unmuted. If somebody is, okay, looks like everybody's muted. All right, please keep yourself muted. All right, thank you. Okay, so going to the next slide. Okay, so before we go next, so all these beliefs that we have deeply incorporated in our consciousness, they're false. Just take the example of, I have no control over my life. We have thinking that is in your control. Nobody can control your thinking unless you allow them to. Okay? And thinking generates your reality, which means we have actually complete control over our life. We may not exactly know how, but the statement itself is false. We have complete control over life. So all these beliefs, so I'm not free is also a very interesting one. If you actually feel in your life that you're not free to be whoever you are, ask yourself where that is coming from. You may have felt like that emotionally when you were a child, but is that still true? So, for example, in my case, I was not free to do anything when I was little. Everything had to go through the permission of my mother. Now, if I look at my situation, of course, there are things that I feel I'm not free at, but at the same time, my mother is not sitting over my head. I have the choice to decline her. I have a choice to do whatever I feel like doing, by and large. And anytime I feel that I am not free, I bring up this understanding. It was true then, it is not true now. It was true then, it is not true now. That helps me get over this emotional barrier that I come across, that I'm not free. That intense anguish that I feel, where I don't feel I'm free. And it could be based on my circumstances right now. It could be anything in my life that I feel not free about. But When I bring up this understanding, then it's not true. This is all coming from the past experiences. I feel better. And the more I feel better, the more it changes my reality. Okay, so freedom. What really is freedom? And what are we really looking for? Over a period of time, as I've grown in age, I've started to believe that I'm looking for freedom more than anything else in the world. Love and all that kind of stuff, that's wonderful, but that is secondary to freedom. If I'm not free, what purpose does love serve me? If somebody presents me up and loves me, what good is that? And that's probably how I felt when I was a child. Not that my mother did not love me. I do understand and believe she loved me, but I wasn't free to do what I wanted to do. So what good is that love? That love is like an imprisonment in a different way. So in my mind, freedom is of topmost priority for a human being or any being. If you put an animal in a cage, you can love the animal to death, but if the animal is not free, it's not going to feel happy. Happiness is truly a derivative of feeling free. And then you're free to love or not to love or whatever you want to do. But this freedom is of supreme importance. So keep reminding yourself, it is not the same as before. Although we feel it that it is the same as situation as before, it really is not. You have done the work and you've come a long ways to get the freedom that you're looking for. In most cases, I'm sure there are cases where they are not free, they're still under the umbrella of the mothers and fathers. But in most cases, adults have left the house and they're free from the control of the mother or the parents, in most cases. And that is freedom in itself. Congratulate yourself that you've freed yourself from the control of the narcissist. And the old patterns of thinking, they're simply an illusion to some degree or the other. You may still feel under the control, but that is an old mindset coming from when you were a child. It is not true anymore. So remind yourself, it is not the truth anymore that I am still under the control of my parents. You have the choice to decline. You have the choice not to take their phone calls. You have choice to say, okay, I'm not going to do this. I've done it enough. I'm not going to do this for you if I don't feel like doing it. Yes, there's guilt and emotionality associated with it. But first step first, acknowledge that you're more free than you were before. And that will give you a sense of relief in your system. Okay, I'm not as trapped as I felt before. And I promise you, and I've been experimenting with this quite a bit in my life right now, because I'm going through a challenge myself, I'm trying to figure out, where is this challenge coming from? Where is the origination point? And I can very clearly see the origination point is in my childhood. I felt that I wasn't free enough, and I'm recreating the situations in the present moment based on that feeling. As you know, emotions and feelings are very powerful creators. So when you start feeling strongly about something, look at your life circumstances. Let's say you have, I don't know, some financial issues or health issues or anything else that is going on in your life. See how it makes you feel inside, how that situation is making you feel. And more likely than not, you will see that it makes you feel that you're not free, that you're trapped. And then trace it back into your early childhood and see, is that how you felt in your childhood? Trapped, not free. And once you investigate this enough that it is coming from the previous time, and it was certainly true then that I wasn't free, but you're more free now. You may not be completely free, but you're more free. And that will bring you a sense of relief to some degree. And as you start to experience more relief in your system, based on this understanding, based on this change of feeling, based on this change of mindset, that you are more free than before, the freedom will follow you. These challenges, whatever they are, they will start to disappear and dissipate over a period of time as you start to remember and recollect this truth that you're more free. And I think this is of supreme importance. Another question to ask is, where is all this lack of freedom really originating from? Is it ancestral? Is it just in our parents? Is it in our lifetime? Where is this origination point of lack of freedom? So I've been thinking about this quite a bit and for many years, and I have come to understand that it is this story of Adam and Eve is a very powerful story. It comes from the Old Testament, and I think it has got a lot of meaning to it. And if we understand the true significance of the story, I think it really helps us move forward. So the essence of the story is that God told Adam and Eve that you can enjoy your life on this planet and you can do anything you wish to do as long as you don't eat the fruit from the knowledge of the tree of good and evil. Okay? Very important to understand that it is knowledge, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So don't eat the fruit, meaning don't accept this understanding that there is good and evil. But if you look at history, the ancestors, this idea of good and evil is so deeply embedded in our consciousness that we consider it to be the truth. Every part of our body, our mind, our consciousness, our society, our culture talks about or evaluates things based on good and evil. There is some good, there is something bad. Everything goes in two buckets: good, bad, right, wrong, good, evil. Right? And that's exactly what God said. Don't do this. So this story is very powerful in understanding that the good and evil are all in the mind. There really isn't a good and evil unless you make it so. Okay? Now we've been programmed, deeply programmed, so it is not an overnight change that we can do. But it starts with an understanding. Once you understand and you repeat, then you start to change your programming. For changing a programming, two things are required: the truth and repetition. Just knowing the truth once is not enough. You have to know the truth and you have to repeat it. And both those things tend to start changing every part of our reality. And it's the truth, meaning what you start really believing in it. So as a child, your parents told you a lie that you're not good enough. And when it was repeated 10 million times over many years, you started believing in it. So it's about what you are really believing in. You can believe a lie and that will become your truth. That doesn't really make it the truth. It is just you believing in it. So what lies have you learned? You meaning we, all of us in this generation and previous generations, that we need to change. We are the forerunners of a lot of this change. And this understanding is very important, that there really isn't a good and evil. How contradictory to pretty much all the religious teachings that you see around. Many people I work with who come from Catholic background, oh my God, it's all about sin, that we are all sinners, right? And I'm not pointing this out or trying to single out anybody, But so yeah, I apologize if this hurt somebody's sentiments. But it's just incorrect. It's untrue, right? Now, if you start to analyze it, what is good and evil? It's important to analyze it as well. What are we treating as good and evil? Is it because somebody has just told us so, or is there truth to it? So it's very informative to first go inside and see where you feel that you're an evil. Where do you feel yourself you're a bad person? That analysis is important. So first is bringing up that consciousness. Okay, where do I feel I'm not good enough? Bad. I'm a bad person. It's not just about good enough. It's about bad. It's about evil. Where do you think you are bad? And why? Is it because somebody told you so? Or is it because there is truth to it? I'm not saying that we are perfect. We can improve and stuff. That's fine. But is it real? We're just taking somebody's word for it, or is there some substance to it? Right? So, for example, let me take one or two quick extreme examples. Like in most cultures, having extramarital affairs is considered very bad, right? So if somebody gets into that kind of a relationship, and I'm not proposing anything here, but I'm just saying that if something like that is done in a particular culture, they can almost be killed, actually. In fact, there are many cultures where the woman will be actually shot if she is found to have an extramarital affair, right? Now, digging deeper inside a little bit and ask the question, why did she even do that? Was it that she has been so punished by her husband that she needed some relief outside? Or was it that she was actually not even willingly doing it? She was actually forced into it. So there are many, many extenuating circumstances that if we look deeper, we'll see that there's no truth to the idea that she was bad, or what she was probably doing was correct. And on the other side, there are many cultures, this is considered as a norm, that it's okay. Human sexuality is a very powerful force, and to completely kibosh it, suppress it, override it is not a realistic thing. It's a human nature. Again, I'm not proposing anything else. I'm just saying that we cannot start considering it as good and evil. We got to consider it as partly human, and also see what are the circumstances behind it. Then if you look at the 10 commandments, some of those commandments are like pretty outrageous, right? And if you start analyzing them, you will start to see that there is not complete truth to them. These were written in times where there was people were trying to police the world with moral principles. And I've really come to believe there is now no such thing as morality. There really isn't. We have to follow our instincts, and instincts meaning heart, our deeper heart, and we are human beings. So creating a layer of morality is really putting a person in a prison. Okay. Now we have police force nowadays, so people are checked by not going and killing somebody else, which is, of course, it's not a moral issue. It's a legal issue. It's a problem. We cannot allow that to happen, and that is we are required to protect ourselves from that, and the society from that. But we don't have to put moral principles on top of it to make the person feel really bad about it. Yes, the person who has killed another person has done a wrong thing. He'll be put in prison. He or she will be put in prison, and they're going to pay for. They'll have consequences for it. But the judge is not going to say this is a morally incorrect thing. The judge is going to say it's a legally incorrect thing. And we have got to protect the society from that. For example, extramarital affairs are not legally accepted. You cannot go and you can probably bring it up in a divorce case, but it's not a legally accepted argument that person should be punished because they had an extramarital affair. And again, I'm making some general statements here to separate legality, which we have very strong legal controls these days, from morality. And this whole Adam and Eve thing has been turned into morality. It's a moral issue now. It's a religious and a moral issue. And that puts another layer on top of our normal day-to-day existence, which makes us feel guilty about ourselves. For example, I felt guilty about not taking care of my mother. And she put that guilt on me. Oh, I'm your mother. I've taken care of you for all your life. And look, you've just deserted me. Well, to heck with you. I don't feel like it. Why I don't feel like it? I don't know. I just don't feel like it. So she was making it a moral issue. And to bring actually more wisdom into it, the universe never gives you, and remember this wisdom if you can, the universe never gives you an irresponsibility without giving an equal amount of desire to do it. So if you don't have the desire to do it from your heart, it is not your responsibility. And let this sink in your mind. It's simply a moral issue that has been put onto you. It is not put on by the universe. So when a child is young, let's say a couple of months old baby, the mother is given the desire, an equal amount of desire to wake up 100 times a day and take care of the baby. And she's doing it with heartfelt desire, at least most of them. Now the same mother, when the child is 21 years old, and the child or the adult now wants the mother to take care of him at that stage, the mother is not going to have that desire. Now, if the mother keeps on trying to do that, she's in trouble. Why? Because her energy is diverted into doing something that she's not responsible for. So it's very important to feel what feels right to us at a heart level, because that's where the universe is asking you put your energy. So if you put your energy in something that is not your responsibility, you will feel drained. Guaranteed. And I do this every time. Anytime I feel drained, I check, okay, what am I focusing my attention and energy on that is not my responsibility? And I can look and feel inside, okay, I don't feel like doing this. And then I find the courage to say, no, I'm not going to do it. You like it, you don't like it, that's your problem, not mine. So just reiterating, good and evil are only in the mind. It's become a moral issue, and get rid of this morality thing and focus on your heart. See, what do you really feel like doing? Okay, so as a derivative of this whole morality issue, guilt and sin and whatnot, which are all nonsensical principles, we have created systems of torture, right? There are many, many systems of torture available to you. Now, based on your own consciousness, you pick your weapon of torture. We all pick our weapon of torture. How sad is that? That based on this morality and good and evil, which doesn't even exist, we then are, due to our programmings, we are made or we pick from whatever, however, and there are many reasons we pick up in different ways. We pick our favorite weapon of torture. And the weapon of torture could be financial issues, health issues, relationship issues, loneliness issues, you name it. They're all weapons of torture. They're all weapons of torture. Every single one of them. You're suffering from something, you've said a yes to a certain weapon of torture. Okay. Now, that seems pretty sad, but at the same time, there's good news. The good news is that if you can choose to torture yourself, you can also choose not to torture yourself based on understandings and wisdom and changes. You don't have to torture yourself. Nobody, the universe is not in the business of torturing. We are in the business of torturing. So we have to take responsibility that the universe is not torturing us, we are torturing ourselves. Yes, bad things happen to us. The parents and whatever else, they have done wrong things to us, and we learned bad things and bad habits and whatnot. But it's still our responsibility to change our life. And we have the freedom to do that. We have freedom. Okay. This is another topic I would like to cover a little bit. I'm going to cover this again in a later class, but I want to at least bring it to consciousness because it's a very important part of our healing process. It's called multiple personality disorder from a psychological standpoint. If you read psychology books, this is a pretty it's very well-known issue. Okay, so there's a lot of text here, but I'll try to summarize. So multiple personality disorder, according to psychology, is a mental disorder characterized by at least two distinct and relatively enduring personality states. Important part, there are two distinct and enduring personality states. The second part is almost everyone has this disorder. I have yet to come across anyone who doesn't have it. Well, I have seen one or two. And by the way, those people who sort of don't have the disorder, they're not normal, quote unquote, not normal by people's standards, the societal standards. And that's because they have accepted that their personality is not a disorder. They've accepted their good side and their evil sides, quote unquote evil, which doesn't even exist. Now, these personalities alternately and variably show up. So some part of the day, you will have one personality, another part of the day, you will have another personality. And remember, almost everyone has it. People with this condition are often victims of severe abuse. Narcissistic abuse is a key type of abuse that most of us have gone through. And each personality may have its own unique name, possibly, a very personal history and very personal characteristics. And this disorder is also associated with memory gaps beyond what can be explained with ordinary forgetfulness. So I don't know if you have experienced it. I've experienced it. There are times when I just can't remember my childhood or large parts of my childhood. Okay. And that is part of this disorder. This is just a pictorial depiction of one person having multiple personalities. So let me start by making myself more known, per se. So I have two personalities that I am aware of, and I'm clubbing them together. There may be multiple, but they're sort of falling in these two main categories. So the personality one, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about the karmic pattern here. It is coming from our past lives. Okay. So personality one is that I'm weak, that I'm unintelligent, that I don't have confidence, I have low self-worth, I'm very fearful, I'm vindictive, I'm withholding, and I'm judgmental. All these parts, and probably a few more, are very much existent in my personality one. And I can see that. I've become aware enough that I can see my personality one. Earlier, at least during my early childhood times, and maybe up to the age of 20, 25, when I was like just rolling around in life unaware. I was absolutely unaware of personality one. So personality one so the personality one also was not aware to me until much later, around 25-ish, 30-ish, is when I started to even become aware that I have this personality. And that awareness comes only when we are able to disassociate ourselves from this false personality. So if I'm completely identified with that personality, I cannot see it. I cannot see my own image. I need some mirror to show me my image. And that's actually what happens with the narcissist. Narcissist is unable to see their own image. They're so associated, they're so identified with their personality that they cannot see it differently. They think this is normal. And the personality two, which is soul destiny, I'll talk about that also a little bit, is that I'm powerful, I'm intelligent, I'm very intelligent, I'm very confident, I have a great amount of value, I'm courageous, I'm kind, I'm a giver, and I'm non-judging. And this has also been coming to my awareness for several years now, but it is more a recent phenomenon, relatively speaking. So first part of my life was just living unaware. I had no idea what the heck, who I was or where I was going. Then the phase two was where I started becoming aware of my personality one based on the pain and suffering I was going through. The pain and suffering is a way to dissociate ourselves from the identity, a false identity. It's nature's brilliant idea, I guess, although I don't like it. But it's a brilliant idea from nature to find ways to give you enough pain that you have to start separating yourself from this false identity that we picked up. Because otherwise the awakening doesn't happen in most cases. So for a narcissist, they're living a happy life by sucking your blood. And for them, things are good and hunky-dory, so why even bother? Right? So it's the pain and the suffering in most cases that awaken us up to separate ourselves from personality, a false personality, personality one. And then third phase of life, and this can happen at different times. For some people, the initial phases are long, short, phase one, phase two, phase three, they're all very different time frames for each one. The personality two is what you really want to become. And that is there in your consciousness. It is in your soul. It came down with that blueprint, but it needs the right nurturing to elaborate, to express, to fully become aware. And that's the phase three of life, of your journey, in this journey of lifetime. Phase one is unaware. Phase two is separation from your false identity by becoming aware of your personality one. And then phase three is all about grounding yourself, becoming more and more centered, grounded, accepting of your personality, of your soul personality that you come here for. And this is where all your treasure is. Whatever you've been seeking is in personality two. Whatever. You're seeking power, intelligence, confidence, money, courage, kindness, whatever is all in your soul destiny. However, we have to do the work. We have to find the support. Most of the times doing this alone is almost impossible. We don't even know what we're trying to do. So having the right support, right mindset, right will, and finding the right environment to grow in, and taking one step at a time. So there's some good news here. The good news in all these challenges and all this confusion we call life is that phase one is all coming from past life personality impressions. So this whole personality distortion I had about I'm not courageous, I'm not strong, I'm not this, I'm not that, is coming from my past life impressions. They're still in my consciousness. And that's the reason why I even got this narcissistic mother, which she came in my face to show me how bad I really feel about myself. Right? So it's a past life impression, still present. And we have to uh, get past some of these things. Now, the mere reason or the mere fact that you are here where you're able to see some of these personality distortions in yourself shows evolution. So it's very helpful to recognize and very helpful to congratulate yourself that you've come here. The narcissist is not here. They're still in phase one. Right? So they have to go through their pain and suffering to get to that, but that's where they are, and that's fine. But you're much forward. You've evolved a lot. Yes, you're not at your goals, but you've evolved a lot, and keep going. Good job. You won't be here. You won't be listening to this today. You won't be working with me if you were not here to accept and move forward. So wonderful work. And I really mean it. Now, just keep on taking the next steps. So the next step in your journey is to become more and more aware of both personality 1 and 2, and slowly and gradually shift from 1 to 2, making a conscious choice. And the choice comes in awareness. Awareness is what brings choice. So when you're aware that you have these personalities, then you have a choice. If you're not even aware, you have no choice. Okay? So in awareness, you can say, I'm going to love and be non-judgmental to my previous personality. I have these aspects in me. I acknowledge them. I appreciate them for bringing me here. However you want to love them, accept them is fine. But accept them, because that's the truth. You are here by the grace of some of these problems, or you're here because you've evolved and you've done so much of work. And these parts of you that were in that state before is not because they're bad, it's just because they're scared. We pick up, in most cases, the personality 1 is picked up because we're scared. It's not because we are bad, we are scared. There's a huge difference between the two. And when you start accepting that you're scared, you can bring compassion to yourself. When you say to yourself, I'm bad, then there's no compassion. See the difference? So be compassionate to yourself because you're scared. When you were a child and you had bad things going on in your life, nobody was there to give you the compassion and the love and say, I'm here with you. Nobody, like the narcissistic parent came and said, oh, you're bad, that's why you're suffering. That's a different problem. But the truth is, you were scared. You needed somebody to comfort you, not come and tell you that you're a bad person. If you're crying, have you heard the term? Like where it says I heard somebody say, when my father used to, when I used to cry, my father used to come and say, I'm going to beat you up so that you have more reasons to cry. So stop crying now. Oh my God. What a nice thing to say. Right? The child is scared and that's why the child is crying. Now you come and want to give more? Yeah. So compassion. I truly believe that compassion comes to our own self by recognizing I'm scared. I'm not bad. I'm scared. Okay. All right. So I think I'm repeating some of these things here. So the life journey is all about becoming aware of personality one and then slowly transitioning to personality two, where your treasure lies. And this is a lifelong journey for most people. You can speed it up by proper support and help and whatnot, but it's a journey. So, like I mentioned, the initial part of life is identification with one, then slowly becoming aware there is one, and then slowly awakening of two. And then making a conscious choice of releasing one and acceptance of two. Okay, this is a slightly different topic, and I think going to spend another 5 minutes, and then I'll close and open up for questions and discussion. Um, energy. Energy um, keeps on changing, recycling itself in different forms. At the core is energy, and the manifestations can be different in most cases. So if the same energy will manifest differently in different times based on your circumstances. So the change really needs to happen at the energy level. You need to change the energy, the underlying energy. Energy repeats. Same energy will repeat in a different form maybe, but it'll have the same kind of feelings associated with it. So like I mentioned, the feeling of lack of freedom. At that time when I was a child, it was being experienced in a different way. It was being experienced as me not being very well physically, not being very strong, having a weak constitution, having not doing very well in school, right? That's how my energy of lack of freedom was presenting itself at that time. And what would I expect? That's what I would expect. If I'm not happy, if I'm not free, I'm not happy what I'm doing, then I will have these issues in one way or the other, right? But they're all originating from this energy, the emotional energy, that I'm not free, and because of which I'm not happy, and because of which I'm experiencing these problems. The energy was manifesting in that form at that time. So the energy changes form of manifestations. So in the childhood times, it manifested that way. In the more grown-up times, it manifested another way. I got a boss when I was working at Motorola. I got a boss who was just like my mother. So it is the same emotional energy now manifesting as this boss instead of my mother. And then I married a woman who was exactly like my mom, or more like my mom, right? So they are all manifestations of the same core energy. Different forms. My mother to my boss to my ex-wife and many other instances of different situations. They are all manifestations of the same. I didn't feel free. And because I didn't feel free, I was not happy, and it resulted in all kinds of issues. Now, mental interpretation and the past interpretation, that's very helpful. At least I've practiced this quite a bit, and it really helped me, is to see that I'm not in the same state. My mother is not there. I got rid of her. My ex-wife is not there. I got rid of her. My boss is not there. I got rid of her. So yay to me. I've gotten free. However, the real yay starts coming when I really start recognizing and accepting that I'm more free than before. Otherwise, I'll keep repeating is a different problem with the same issue underneath it. So very important to see the then and the now and accept. Then was different, now is different. None of these people are controlling me anymore. And the moment I bring that to realization, it sort of releases something in my gut. I feel free. And believe it or not, I can see that changing my physical world as well. But of course, I have to keep practicing it to release that tension in my gut that I feel. Anytime I feel that tension somewhere in my body, I know that it is because I'm holding on to the same idea that I'm not free. And when I bring to awareness, no, that's not true anymore, it releases it. So one last thing, along the same lines, similar lines, um, this idea of saying yes to life. What happens is when we are in the state of lack of freedom. See, lack of freedom will break anyone's will over a period of time. No matter how strong you are, no matter how positive you are, you put somebody in jail for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 50 years, you'll break their will. At some point on their journey in the jail, in imprisonment, they will start saying, just kill me. I'm done. Right? And this is very important to recognize that it will break our will eventually. As long as we are trapped, as long as we are not feeling free, sooner or later it'll break our will. So the very notion that I'm tired of my life, we are exhausted. Most of us are exhausted. Right? It's not easy. The life journey for whoever is sitting up there and designed this thing, I'm not a very fan of this kind of design, but anyways, it is what it is. Maybe there's another way that we'll discover. But the subconscious no to life, we start saying subconsciously no to life fairly early in the game. Although we are doing it externally, we are putting up a strong face. Okay, I'm going to fight this battle, fight this battle, fight this battle. But somewhere you're saying, oh my God, I'm really tired. When is it going to get over and I'm done with this life, kind of a thing. Okay. So that mental state is not conducive for healing. Is usually not conducive for healing. So the moment we start to say a no to life, life actually tends to start working against us. By life, not because it's punishing us, it's just because we are saying no to life energy. We are saying no to life force. And that no at a choice level starts to work against us. So become aware that if you are saying a yes or a no to life, what you're saying actually is a no to suffering, no to unhappiness, no to whatever else. And that is fair. That's the correct thing to do. You should say a no to all these things that are not conducive for your well-being. But saying a no to life itself is a problem. And underneath all of this, that's not what we are choosing. That's not what we are wanting. We do want life. We do want a good life. Who wants a crappy life? No, I don't want a crappy life. Nobody wants a crappy life. Nobody deserves a crappy life. Right? So saying yes to life force, life energy, is a very powerful choice. Be very clear that you're choosing yes to life, no to bad stuff. I don't want any bad in my life. And I have a choice. I have a choice. I'm not going to torture myself. I'm saying a no to everything that is bad, not good for me, not valuable for me. All the negative thought patterns, I'm saying a no to all of them. I have a right to do that. But I'm going to say a yes to life. So the important point is don't confuse the life with life problems. These are two different things. Okay. And then because of this saying yes to life, you are also willing to heal them, because you're saying a no to bad stuff. What is healing? Healing is no to bad stuff. So these go hand in hand. When you're saying a no to bad stuff, you're saying yes to life. Whenever you say a no, you're implying a yes to something else. And whenever you say a yes, you're sort of implying something to a no, something no. So if the mother is a problem, say no to a mother or whoever else in your life who's creating trouble. That's your choice. It's your life, it's your choice. Don't give the power to anybody else. Okay, very good. With this, I'm going to stop, and I am going to open up for any questions or any sharing. What resonated with you? What were the important parts that really made sense to you? Just unmute yourself and you can come online. Or if you have any questions for me, I'll be more than happy to answer. In fact, I would love if somebody can share their life journey with me and see how they can relate to what I discussed. That'll be wonderful. Anyone? Or you can raise your hand. You can actually unmute yourself. But if you need to raise your hand, you can raise your hand as well. Especially, I would love to hear from somebody who started becoming aware of their personality too, to some degree. Sorry?
Hi.
Who's this?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, Maria?
See, yeah.
Yes, Maria. Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Hi. Yeah,
Hello.
I just wanna give a testimonial or something like that. And that is that I participated in your course, the first one, the original one. I think it was from Aram side, right? This package of narcissistic abuse and the Lifetron. And the reading that you did for me literally changed my life. Though it's only a month and I did Lifetron only for a month, but that call combined with Lifetron, it brought huge changes of awareness. And even without realizing you had this 1 and 2, I was working on it. I went on the idea that, you know what, if I was born into a family with my mother who was like totally narcissistic and codependent and all this, that is definitely past life, right? I definitely have to bring it. I probably use different terminology, and so I've been working on it. I've been working on it and looking to see what are my issues that I'm bringing from ancestors and what am I bringing from my soul DNA, the ancestor DNA and my soul DNA, and also like both sides of the family, my mother's and my father's. Though I didn't have an opportunity to meet either of them when I was young. I saw my father's mother actually for a few years, for like 10 years. And yes, so I've been working on it, and wow, amazing changes.
Nice.
So my question is something like, would you be able to see if changes are being made? But I'll tell you what is the end result, which I go by. I have a lot of peace.
I have a lot of what, sorry? What's the lesson? Peace. Okay, peace. Yes.
I have a lot of peace, and I don't keep thinking something is wrong with me. Before, if I heard a telesummit, I would just like go into total reaction. I'm like, something's wrong with me. I need to fix myself. I'm not okay. But now I'm like, no, I'm very calm, very peaceful, and yes, that's the big difference I noticed.
Yeah, yes, no, absolutely, Maria. Your energy looks very nice, actually, to me.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. It's there's a very distinct flavor, if I may use that term, of sweetness that I experience.
Yes, and you know what? I forgot about the Lifetron, and then of course you know the story. My account got maxed. I was like in shock, total shock. I'm like, what the hell? This has never happened to me. right? Never happened to me. I keep talking about it. I keep telling people I'm like, I have an issue with abundance, but I've never ever been cut off, maxed off. And this happened to me, and I'm like, wow. So I'm gonna really look at what you mentioned, right? Listen, I've made notes of what you were talking about. When these issues show up, if this happened in the childhood, and I'm thinking, wow, this is how I spent my whole 18 years till I was living with my mom and dad. And really, at 18, it was that I escaped. I went to another city to study, and of course, when we moved at 18, I moved to the US. Me and my brothers, we were sent to the US for further education and stuff like that. But it was like money was like the biggest issue. That was like the biggest trigger. There was never enough. Like my parents were always under, how do you say? Yeah, red, right? They always overspent. Uh, yes, more than what they had, and I'm like, wow, I'm doing Lifetron, and boom. Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Whatever the goodness is coming will increase, and the challenges will keep on reducing over a period of time. So yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad, and thank you for sharing your experience, Maria. This is very nice, very nice.
Yes, yes, I've always wanted to write a testimonial for you. That's
That'll be great if you can at least write it and send it to me. That'll be an additional bonus for me.
yes, yes. I'm not very good at wording it. I'll send it to you, and maybe you can make it
Okay, wonderful.
nice.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Thank
Wonderful.
you. Thank you.
All right. Take care, Maria. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay. Anybody else? The
Hi,
floor is
Sanjay.
open. Hey, hello.
Hello. Hi, it's Francine.
Hey, Francine. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good, good, good.
So, I like what you were saying about torturing ourselves. I've done that very well.
We all have. We all have. You're not the only one.
Right, right. And in the last couple of weeks, I've been saying no to both my parents. Like, I don't answer their calls, I don't answer their emails, and it feels very strange. And there's a lot of guilt. But I just got to a point where, like, I've been killing myself in my health over the last 25 years, and I just can't do it. I'm gonna die if I keep doing this. So, but I'm just wondering about the guilt. Like, is there anything that you can add to what you just said already about that?
Okay, so let's investigate that. So what is the guilt about? What do you feel guilty about?
That's a good question. I feel guilty because I've always been, in a way, the caretaker, not in a physical way, but it's like I've been the pincushion in the family. Like, I feel like I've been carrying my parents on my shoulders energetically, whereas like the brother that was born after me, he was the middle child, and he kind of got away. He was able to just go travel and separate himself, and he has a life and I don't. And so I just feel, I don't know, I feel like I'm abandoning my parents. Like I'm
Right.
like I feel like I'm a bad person for wanting to live my life and let them live their life.
Right. Okay, so the answers are relatively simple from a wisdom standpoint. Let me at least tell you those, and then then we can see what resonates with you the most. So the one point I made was, you are not given the desire if it is not your responsibility.
Yes.
Okay. So if your desire is missing, that's a clear statement from the universe that this is not your job.
Right.
Okay. It is not a universal truth that every child needs to take care of every parent.
Right.
We all have our individual journeys. Some children are, some people are not. So it is not a universal principle. And that's what we tend to make is a law that, okay, take care of your parents or be nice to your neighbors. Yes, maybe general statements are good, but at the same time, it is not a universal truth though.
Right.
So there are individual cases which are different.
Mhm.
So the individuality comes into the picture. The second aspect is, why did the universe not give you that responsibility? That's another question.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me tell you the reason that might be true in your case. So if you take care of your parents, the parents will never learn their lessons.
Mm. Wow.
Right? So they're learning. So you know this, but as a truth, that if somebody, the most of the times our growth really comes when we face challenges,
Yeah.
right? So if you devoid your parents of challenges that they need to face to grow, to go from that self-awareness, to grow in self-awareness, then if you devoid them of that, how detrimental is that for them and for you?
Yeah. And that's what's been happening for most of my life.
Right. Now you're doing a real disservice for yourself and to them by going against what the universe has created you for and them for.
Right.
They have given the challenges, they have been given the challenges so that they can grow. And here comes Francine and says, no, 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 and I'm going to take care of my parents because I love them so much that I can't see them facing any challenges. So I'm going to start taking care of them. And you made the choice very early on in life when you were probably a couple of months old or a year old. And you saw your mother or father crying and upset and whatnot. And you said, I'm going to make a choice that I'm going to take care of my parents as I grow up. When I become older, I'm going to take care of my parents. You made the choice.
Well,
Now again, huh?
they also laid guilt on me if I didn't, you know.
Yeah, no, of course, of course. No, no. So I'm not saying this is your fault.
No, I know.
Yeah, it's not your fault because you grew up in that environment.
Right.
Right. So they were more than willing to dump their stuff on you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And you as a weaker or a willing person said, okay, I'll take it because if I don't, then I'm in trouble myself. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
you started taking up their problems for a reason to protect yourself.
And what was I protecting myself from?
You were protecting yourself from their anger.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That
Wow.
was your rationale of picking up their problems. Said, okay, if I'm quiet, I don't create trouble, then I'll be safer.
Yeah.
Now the situation is different. They can't hurt you. Right? They cannot jump out of the phone. Do they live close to you?
One does.
Okay. Well, how close? Like close, close?
40 kilometers.
Yeah, okay.
40,
That's good distance enough.
yeah.
Right? They cannot come inside your house. They cannot force you to do anything anymore. All they can do is just throw guilt messages at you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And just realize the guilt messages are not coming from them. They're coming from you.
Mm-hmm.
That you're in charge of those guilt messages. You can tell, what am I guilty for? This is not my job. I'm hurting them by actually helping them.
Right.
Right? So it's very important to just remember that it is not your problem. It's their problem. If it was your problem, you would be more than happy to solve it.
Right.
It's not your problem.
Wow. This is great.
Yeah.
This is really-
Again, I feel like sometimes I throw in a funny quote I saw on Facebook. It said, the 4 letters to peace is, and there is this monkey sitting in a meditation posture, and the 4 letters at the bottom, where it says, this is not my fucking problem. So it just brings a smile to my face, and I remind myself every time I'm picking that up from somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All
I'm gonna put that on my fridge.
Nice. We got to bring some humor into our life, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, very good, Francine.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Wonderful,
So
wonderful.
much. Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Awesome.
welcome. Anyone else, guys? Okay. If no one else has any comments, questions, need help with anything, going one, going twice. All right. So I'm going to close the webinar. I'm going to send a survey. If you can fill that up, that'll be wonderful. Just a few words, that'll be great. And I appreciate you coming on the call. Thank you so much. And I'll see you again in the next month with more deeper insights. All right. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.